Okay, hi guys, Mr. Who's the Boss here, and in this video we're comparing two of the best hunting games on the PlayStation Vita and the 3DS. This video is Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate vs Freedom Wars. Let's begin. So we're going to start with the graphical quality. Now Freedom Wars runs at the PlayStation Vita's native resolution, 960 by 544. It actually looks very sharp and surprisingly colourful even on the PlayStation Vita Slim. There are intense 3D models with huge amounts of polygons on the screen, sometimes a million at a time. Textures and shadows are both very high resolution, and ambient lighting and depth of field make for some very advanced effects. Freedom Wars runs at a smooth 30 frames per second, but this isn't exactly buttery smooth. Now Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is a totally different piece of pie. It's actually still using a lot of those very advanced effects, things like ambient lighting and depth of field, but at the same time it's running at a significantly lower resolution. Now the shadows and textures are also significantly downgraded compared to Freedom Wars, but having said that, this game feels super smooth while running at a almost constant 60 frames per second. That's a feat within itself for a handheld device. Furthermore, the 3D works amazing here. Now more onto the gameplay. Freedom Wars is very combat focused. You're basically plunged into an arena with a monster that you're meant to kill, you kill it, rescue the prisoners and then return home. Is it a bad thing? Well no, I mean some would say that it actually takes out all the boring stuff from these sort of hunting kind of games and just throws in the combat. And to be fair, the combat is fairly advanced. I mean, you've got things like lock-on, you've got a thorn which allows you to jump onto enemies, pull them down, and you can actually focus on attacking different limbs which do lots of different things. Clearly a lot of thought has actually been put into how each monster behaves. Now you could argue that Freedom Wars has a little bit more, excuse the pun, freedom. You're allowed more than one weapon on any mission, and you can actually switch between them during combat. This actually gives you a dynamic, because then you can actually switch between short range and long range depending on the style of combat you're actually in, and perhaps depending on what your health is as well. Now here you also get full control over your AI teammates, whereas Monster Hunter, your cat basically just does everything for you. So whereas with Freedom Wars you're pretty much plunged into an arena, kill an enemy, and then rinse and repeat, Monster Hunter is more about the exploration. Clearly there is a lot of that sort of chase this monster, gather that good, that kind of thing, but this is more about going around there, progressing your character, and really sort of reaping the rewards from your farming. So you can obviously harvest things within the environment, you sort of carve meat, or you use pickaxe to gain rocks and minerals and that kind of thing to enhance your weapons. And it does feel more like an adventure which you have control over as opposed to something which is predefined. Now the combat is probably a little bit more basic on Monster Hunter. Having said that, the moveset of the monsters is much better thought about. Each monster has a huge number of moves, and the actual main monsters you fight, the boss ones, there's also a lot to think about. Things like breakable parts, tails you can cut off, wings you can smash, heads you can destroy. And what this game perhaps loses in number of moves that you can actually execute with your weapon, it makes up with the sheer diversity of weapons. There are 14 different weapon types, and each one feels totally unique and changes the way you play. So these are two slightly different style of games. I mean, one is a more story focused one, Freedom Wars, and the other one is more sort of, let you loose and see what you can come up with kind of thing, which is Monster Hunter. Now to be honest, I prefer the style of Monster Hunter, but this is just personal preference. You'll spend a lot of time in Freedom Wars just looking at text, and to be honest, a lot of the time you just feel like you want to get straight to the point. It really is like sort of wasted time, and they could have spread it out a bit more evenly over the storyline. So, I mean, alternatively they could have provided more interesting ways to actually read the text, so perhaps through CG cutscenes or that kind of thing, but they haven't done that here, and it does get a little bit tiresome. On top of that, there's so many mechanics here that it can become quite overwhelming. Now this game, although very successful in its own right, does feel like a first attempt at something new, which is what it is, and it is suffering from some issues. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, on the other hand, does feel like a seriously refined experience. As it is, I mean, this series has been going for quite a few iterations now, and this really does feel like the pinnacle of everything we've played so far. It's got everything from the best graphics to seamless mechanics. I mean, the way they've actually made your character be able to sort of traverse different styles of land now has seriously changed the way you play. I mean, you feel like fully in control of what's going on. The ability to take out the monsters in any way you see fit, whether it's paintballing them, tracking them down, or waiting till they go to certain areas, lets you, excuse the pun, carve out your own fate. This is a truly exceptional game, and I have to say I would rate it much higher than Freedom Wars, but again, personal opinion here. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe for more.